Hallo und ein herzliches Willkommen zu einem Modellbaukönig Spezial, zu einem Modellbaukönig malt, sage ich es mal heute. Es geht heute um Figurenbemalung. Ich meine, wer ist daran nicht schon verzweifelt oder möchte daraus lernen? Es gibt ja unzählige Lektüre, Bücher, Hefte, was weiß ich, noch und nöcher. So, und beim letztjährigen Sommerfest hatten wir einen super Autor, der unzählige Bücher geschrieben hat und aus vielen Publikationen bekannt ist. Und zwar, man möge mir mein Spanisch vergeben, Rodrigo Hernández Chacón. So, und dieser junge Spanier, der gibt uns mit seiner Hochkontrasttechnik mit Airbrush oder mittels Airbrush einige gute Eindrücke. Das ist so gewaltig vom Thema, dass wir daraus 2 Teile machen. Den ersten präsentieren wir euch heute und ich würde euch einfach mal einladen, dass ihr euch das Ganze anschaut und einfach mal auf euch wirken lasst.
First of all, I would like to say that it's a pleasure to be here. For me, it's a pleasure to share this event. Thanks to Harald and Modellbau Koning, and I hope this workshop will be helpful for you. I've been researching. I've been working on techniques that are easier and faster, because the old school, when we paint figures, the techniques are really difficult to reach. They are skillful, and it takes a lot of time to paint a figure. So I've been working on more speed painting and easy to learn, because sometimes the people who build tanks or airplanes, they want to put a figure on with the tank but they are afraid of learning that long, difficult techniques. So I hope these techniques will help you and you will find easy to do. Yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to ask you a question. When we paint a figure, this figure is sorry.
Yeah. Turn it off. Okay.
This a miniature is a reality in a scale. We reduce the character, so you have to also reduce the lights, shadows. You have to. We have to create an illusion of reality that has been decreased. So we are looking for how to get more volume, how to turn two dimensions into 3 dimensions. We have to get more 3D illusion. So we have 3 ways of getting that kind of 3D. One of them here is okay.
Yeah, you can check always here.
Okay. The first one with the lights. If we highlight the prominent areas, the areas with more volume, with texture, convex volumes, we create an illusion of light. Look at this. There are no shadows and no line. Just only with lights we can create the 3D illusion. But we can also attend to the shadows. If we only paint shadows, the areas that are not where the light, the imaginary light doesn't reach, we can create also 3D dimension. We can create volume. But at the last, but not least, because the outlining is not the people in general, the miniature painters don't take care or don't pay attention on this, how to get 3D volume with only line, with a really dark line. But it's really helpful. We will see, because sometimes if we paint with airbrush or brush a uniform, and then we shadow with a line, we shadow the figure with a little outlining, we get really good results. For example, this one. This figure is just with a flat base, and we have outline with black and one with white. Or well, we will see. We will see how to get this effect. This is a big dark. Okay. But I would like to ask you a question. Maybe you have seen that kind of graphics several times. If you, because we are going to think how the outlining works. And have you seen this kind of graphics several times? And if we think about what we see here, most of us, we see a triangle, but there is a triangle. It looks like 3 Pac-Man characters. But we see a triangle because our brain tends to finish what is not finished. If it's in our brain is something that a German psychologist studied, just the Gestalt. I don't know how to say in German. Gestalt. There is a psychologist, a German psychologist, who studied how we perceive the form. So he discovered that our brain tends to finish. And why I'm making that question? Why how is interesting for us? Because when we outline a figure, it is not necessary. This is the old school. The old school tend to outline the whole form, the whole things, with a thick line and really dark line. But it is not necessary because our brain tends to close the form. So if it is more realistic if we outline with a line that is thicker and thinner and appear and disappear. It's like a Leonardo da Vinci drawings. Huh? This is like a graffiti drawings, and this is more like Leonardo or Miguel Angel. And it is also really important, very, very interesting when we outline the figures, because we get the character expression. Our figures has a body language and also face expressions, and when we outline, we get the expression. We highlight the expression of the character. Okay, now we are going to turn the theory into practice, but just some ideas to think about. I have made 3 sketches of this figure. I'm going to paint this figure. I'm going to paint the face and also the uniform. But to understand what I was talking about, I'm going to... Well, you can see that I use a wet palette. It's very helpful, at least in Spain, where we have hot. It's really hot. The water is really hot, and if you use a normal palette, the acrylics will get dry really fast.
In minutes. Yeah.
In a minute, yeah. So I like to use wet palette. So I will try to explain in a drawing, because drawing is a two dimensions image, but sometimes a figure works like that. If I have to, the old school will tend to outline, profiling everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like this, but it is not necessary. We can use that kind of line that I was talking about, that appears and disappears. For example, the areas where the highlights doesn't reach, darker. But for example, here to draw the nose, we can stop here and then we paint the bottom area. Or for example, if we make to paint the mouth, we don't need to paint a straight line. Maybe we do like that and like that. And it's more realistic. We don't need to outline from here. We will start painting like here. And the line is thicker and at the shadow area and thinner. Yeah, like this. That is the idea that we can work with. And also with the uniforms, because the wrinkles are the deeper wrinkles are darker than the wrinkles that are on the top of the sculpture. It receive a lot of light, so we have not to paint with. We do have not to outline and either shadows. For example, here. Well, that's the idea. So now, the first technique I'm going to teach, the easiest one, I'm going to paint the flat base, and only with flat base, and outlining with dark, and outlining with light gray, field gray. We will get 3D effects with just 3 steps. But before painting the green, I'm going to paint with just black and white. I'm going to outline with black, because without color we will see how the drawing works better. We forget about the color. We will see the effects we get with outlining. And then I will paint with color. It's just and now I will get closer, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to paint the face. No, I'm going to paint this one. It's clear. And yeah. And now the first trick. Can it turn on the light? Yeah. When I paint a figure, I like to prime the primer. I'm going to prime the figure with a light green, and it's a good idea if we place the figure. We place the flexor, the light, on the top of the figure to the zenithal light, because one moment. I don't know if. Yeah, we will. If you try that in your home, you will see that the light will place where you have to paint the highlights and where you have to paint the shadows. It's really helpful. You can take a picture, or you can see while the whole process. And it is also interesting. I don't know if we see here, but for the first. Sorry. Yes, the first lights we can place at the bottom of the light, but then the next light we move the figure apart from, and we will see that the lights area we will be reducing. So it's a good idea. It's a good trick to get to know where I have to place the different layers. So it's you can see, you can play with this guy. So now I'm going to outline this figure in black and white, and when we are it is very important when we paint with acrylics and we want to outline with dark. If the sculpture is very well detailed, we will use more water. Here, we use more water because it's like when the people who makes airplanes, when they do paneling, they paint panels. This kind of painting is really diluted, so you only have to place a drop of painting, and the paint will be drawing all the. It's the same with acrylic. If the sculpture is very well done, we can add more water. But if the sculptor, or for example, if you want to change the eyes expression, you will use less water. So this is different. You will see how I use these two kinds of diluted acrylic. So, for example, this figure of Alpine, the eyes are very well detailed, so it's really small. I'm sorry.
That's
you see here?
The big screen is okay.
Okay. Let's see the more diluted acrylic. If I place the brush, you can see you have only you will need only to place the brush, and then the acrylic will draw the details. It's here. You can imagine this technique or this step-by-step process with color. It's the same, but now we can see how it works without color.
What did you use at base coat for the figure?
The base coat
Base color?
is this one.
Yeah.
I would like to prime the figure with this. Yeah.
Okay.
But I also the primer has also highlights and some lights and shadows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And also with the wrinkles here, for example, when we place the figure at the bottom of the light, we will see where to place the lights, the shadows. For example, here. Now I'm going to outline with white. When we outline with white the highlights, the acrylic has to be less diluted, because we have to the painting. We are going to attend the prominent areas, so the acrylic has to be less diluted, less water.
Verdünnen. Verdünnen heißt das. Darf nicht so verdünnt sein, die Farbe.
But that's the idea. Is just to, because later I will paint a face with color, but I wanted to show you the idea of how to place the light shadows and how to outline, and the power of outlining. Okay, so now I'm going to paint a uniform, because I will paint the face later, and with the uniform I'm going to explain two techniques. The first technique is like, for example, this one. I have painted a base color, and I have outlined with darker green, and I also painted the highlights with lighter green. They are just 3 steps. But here in this one, here, I painted this with airbrush. I mixed. I used brush and airbrush, and why I use airbrush? Because the most difficult part with acrylics is to blend. We paint base color, but then we paint the highlights and shadows. But it's difficult to get this to blend like oils do, for example. But we can use the airbrush because we can place high contrast highlights, high contrast shadows, and then with the airbrush we blend. I'm going to do that. Okay. If we want, if we are afraid of get the color satin, it's very useful to mix with ultra matte varnish. But this is not a tricky part. I will wait it and I will explain. Here. While the base is drying, I'm going to prepare the base color for the fresh. The color for fresh, there are a lot of good kits on the market, but I like to use to change a little bit what the color, what the kits, commercial kits show, but are quite good. I like Panzer's base color, flash base, shadows and highlights, but you can add some, for example, violet, and you can change the flesh tone. But it's interesting to use this color as a base, as a reference. You can see the difference. This is shadows, base, and highlight. Well, I haven't talked about the brushes. I like well, the best one for acrylics are Marta Kolinsky brushes. I like Winsor & Newton or Da Vinci brushes, but well, there are a lot of companies. But it makes a difference if you use Marta Kolinsky hair.
Which sizes?
It doesn't matter the size. Sometimes I use number 3, it's really big.
Yeah.
But the most important. The most important thing is the tip of the brush.
Yeah. Okay.
Because with oils, when we paint with oils, we don't need to charge a lot of paint in the hair. Because when we paint with oils, we just blend. But with acrylic, we need to charge a good amount of painting in the body of the hair. Yeah.
Okay.
So we need good. I don't know if it's in English. It's possible to say. How do you call this area of the brush?
Flat part of the brush.
The flat part, yeah. Flat. Yeah. You need a flat because you need to charge the acrylic painting. But the most important is the point. The point, we need a really fine point. So when we paint a face, flesh, we paint a base color. And as we were talking about, I add one moment. I'm going. Yeah, if you can.
A bit out?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is the base, and I mix half and a half highlights and base fresh. The larger is the scale, the most contrast is the step, is the difference. Sorry, the smaller, because we can, when we paint 35 scale, we have to paint high contrast if we want. If we are going to place the figure in a diorama, I think it's better if we use high contrast for face, because you will get the observer, the people will pay attention on the faces and what the characters are feeling. Sometimes I don't know if it's real or not, but sometimes when we make a diorama, we are telling a story, and sometimes we have to lie. When we tell a story, the artist are the best liars, because the main purpose is to tell a story, and you have to. We need the people, the audience, to pay attention on the areas you want. So I don't know if it's real or not, but yes, I'm going to get 3D volume with the lights. And as I told you, it's very interesting to place the figure at the bottom of the light. And then we will see that there are typical highlights on the nose, on the front. Also here, how do you call it? Chat. Hey, can we get closer?
Yeah.
Another interesting point of view is that we tend to paint the faces in the lights, the highlights and shadows, in a symmetric way. We paint the same lights in that side of the face and that on the other side. But if you see each other here, we will see that our faces are not symmetric. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. We are not, and also the lights and the shadows, they doesn't behave in a symmetric way, and it looks really more realistic, more real, lifelike results if you don't paint like that, like symmetric in a symmetric way. So you can see that the first highlights, the first layer, we will reduce the surface in order to get this kind of blended effects. Then it will be the first layer. Then we will add more highlights. Second step. and we will paint. We will reduce more. The next layer will be more reduced. We also tend to, for example, when we paint that area, we tend to paint the wrinkles. No, how do you say the wrinkles at the very beginning? But we have not. It's not the same shadow here, for example, or here than here. Here the shadow is lighter than here, so we have to take care about not paint so dark this kind of the shadows that are in the area that are receiving light, are throwing light. So be careful with that. Okay, so we have two ways of get 3D illusion. Now let's see how is the base. Okay. We have to check. It is very important that the base color is completely flat. We have covered all the surface correctly. I'm going to paint another layer to make sure that it's okay. If you have any question, you can, please don't hesitate to stop me and ask me about any doubt, any question you have. Okay. Now I'm going to paint the lights and highlights and shadows on this uniform, the felt gray uniform. I'm going to paint in a high contrast way. You will see that I'm going to paint, and the brush stroke will be really hard, really. But I will pay attention only how to get more volume and how the zenithal lights, the daylight, will behave on the figure. I will not take care about if the brush stroke appears or not, because with the airbrush, after painting lights and shadows, we will blend with the airbrush. You will see how I am going to do. And in this way, we will paint in 3 steps: base, highlights, and shadows. We will get the lights, the illumination. Then after we will blend the color. So it's really fast, because if we want to get the blend effects with acrylics, we have to apply a lot of layers, one layer, another, in order to get this blended effect. So it's really slow. It's very slow, and if we help with if we use the airbrush, it will help a lot. I'm going to, because it takes time for drying, so I'm going to paint the face at the same time, and I will use this one. For the face, as I told you, the base, the fresh base is okay. If we want, we can add a little of reddish. If we want a reddish tone, or maybe blue is in Russia. We need a figure more bluish. So you can change, but for the base colors, this one is very good. I like. Do you see? Can you see? Yeah. Well, I'm going to cover what I have done because we will outline later. Well, this is not the correct pose. We have to take care about our how do you say your back? Yeah, yes. It's very important to have the elbows on the table. It's very important. But here, because I'm looking for the screen, yeah. Don't pay attention on my body.
You can go over there. I try to follow.
No, here's okay. This is okay. Yeah.
Okay. Get a massage later.
Thank you. And there is another bad behavior or bad use of painting. In Spain, there are a lot of Spanish people who don't do that. I don't know why they are, because it's not good for your health. Right. For your health. There are nowadays because, for example, Vallejo, there are some pigments that are toxic, but all of them has been retired, so you will not be intoxicated. But right. But I anyway, I prefer not to. Yeah. I have seen that the base color is too light. I'm going to paint another layer a bit more darker, because I prefer to start with a more darker base. I'm going to paint. It takes time for drying.
It's too wet in Germany.
Yes.
So, da seid ihr ja wieder. Ja, während ihr euch amüsiert habt, einige Sachen mitgenommen habt, eine Impression, habe ich hier ein bisschen rumgelümmelt. Die Figur für das Werk, für unser neues Set, was wir auch nochmal separat vorstellen, habe ich nochmal zu Ende gebracht, habe ich zu Ende gemalt. So, und ich hoffe, ihr konntet einige Sachen mitnehmen. Euch hat das Ganze gefallen. Wie immer freuen wir uns natürlich über Lob, Kritik, wie auch immer. Daumen nach oben, lasst ein Abo da. Und wir freuen uns natürlich auch, den nächsten Teil euch präsentieren zu können. Bis dahin, macht's gut, meine Lieben.